congressional seat. Democrat Colleen Hanabusa is trying to defeat Republican Charles Djou, the incumbent, after winning a special election earlier this year.
Representative Djou is scheduled to come in on our morning news this Thursday, and this morning, State Senate President Colleen Hanabusa joins Dan Meisenzahl for a live interview.
All right, thanks a lot, Kenny and Mejia, and Senator, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Boy, this has been a pretty heated race so far. And let's talk about one of the main issues that's been out there, and that's residency. And this has always been an issue in so many campaigns. Hillary Clinton, when she went to New York State, and Charles Djou, your own opponent, there were questions about his residency when he ran for city council. How do you address those concerns? How important is it for a person to live in the district that they wish to represent?
Well, I think that the first issue is whether or not there's a legal requirement. And as you know, in the congressional race, there is no legal requirement to live in the district. I think that it's the people who are going to decide. And remember, now I was Senate President for 4 years in the legislature, and we addressed statewide issues. And that's what this is all about. It's about who do you feel can best represent you, represent your values, and represent your interests in Congress. And I think that's what's going to be the major factor when people go to the polls, because after all, it's what they think that really matters. And I've always taken the position that if we win this election, that I would move in. I think it was a little premature for the Republican Party to come down and offer to move me in when they did.
But that was awfully nice of them.
That was awfully nice, and I hope they continue to rent that big van and also keep all those boxes for me.
All right. And allegations of a smear campaign by your opponent. There's a new ad that's been running. It was running on our morning news just a short time ago. This campaign, there's been a lot of allegations thrown back and forth. Sometimes it seems to be a lot of hay of nothing. But in any case, what's your response to the allegations of actually smearing your opponent, Charles Djou?
I don't know where Charles comes off saying he's being smeared. My ads are basically a straight-on comparison on what he voted, and I think people just want to know how he voted. Now, if there's an independent expenditure of some sort, then that's separate and apart, and we have no control over that. Charles just ran an ad that is basically paid for by him, and I guess part of it with the Republican campaign, but definitely has his seal of approval on. Now, I think that ad is negative, but the bottom line is people want to know what the issues are. They want to know where we stand. And the difference between the special election and now is Charles has a voting record on issues that, of course, affect all of us federally. And
this comes to maybe a bigger question, not only here in Hawaii, but nationally. People are trying to decide what's best for America right now. And then you have Charles Djou and you have the Republican Party that says, you know what, we have to stop the spending, we have to cut spending, we have to cut the size of government, we have to not raise taxes, we have to cut taxes. And then on the other side, we have the Democrats that are saying, you know what, we do have to spend. We need to put more money into the economy with stimulus spending. We need to take care of the unemployed. We need to do these things. Isn't this really a question about this election itself, this race between you and Charles Djou, is kind of what's going on nationally right now? It's a choice between really two different political views.
Well, it's really a question of how people value and what do they find to be important to them. And, you know, the Republican agenda, as well as Charles, is always to say no, except to, of course, the super wealthy, where they want to continue the tax cuts to the super wealthy. But they don't want to do anything to stabilize the economy. We were headed for a real great recession. Something had to be done. And remember, now that was in 2008 under President Bush. They all went and they supported the original bailout and the stimulus. And now the reports are coming back that we may not be losing the kind of money that the people are saying. We may actually come out on the positive on some of the bailouts that was done. General Motors, for example, paid up their debt 5 years early. So it's really going to be a question, and time will tell. But I believe that we, unfortunately, are not going to know what would have happened.
Right.
But we do know that we're not in the type of situation that all the pundits thought we would be in if nothing was done. And that's why I think that to simply say no and to simply dig in and say this is the way we're going to do it, but we're going to keep the wealthy with their tax cuts, it's just not acceptable.
All right, Senator Colleen Hanabusa, of course, she is the candidate for the 1st District of the Congressional District here in Honolulu. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks,
and, of course, the Senator will be on a number of times before the general election, November 2nd. Also, Charles Djou is scheduled to come on this Thursday. Now, to see this interview again or any other segments from our morning news, you can go to KITV.com/thismorning. And don't forget to tune in this Friday as KITV4 hosts a debate between Djou and Hanabusa. That'll air on Friday at 7 7 p.m. Once again, that debate is this Friday at 7 p.m. We'll be right back. You're watching KITV4 News. It is 6:41.